Bully. We didn't go anywhere, I say, when we step out through the front door and end up in the front yard. Santa shrugs, wiping his eyes.
Same place, different time.
Are you crying? He looks at me defensively.
I don't know why you aren't crying, Paul. That was some real heartbreaking shit back there.
I shake my head, unable to come up with a way in this day and age to explicitly express the old chestnut, men don't cry. Instead, I glance at my phone and say, man, that's a mind twist.
What is?
Going back and forth like this. Inside, it was December, but now it's a few months earlier. September 5th, 1990.
It tells you where we are?
Asks Santa, taking a special interest in my phone. The date's changed. The time is broken. He takes another look.
No, it's working.
It's stuck at 30 seconds till midnight. He shakes his head.
Look again.
23:59. 31. I don't understand. What does that mean?
It's slow, but it's still working. We can use it to tell how much time you have left. We have until the stroke of midnight.
What happens at midnight? Santa doesn't answer me. He's distracted by a loud noise coming from the street. What happens at midnight? I repeat. He holds out his hand.
Give me what she gave you.
It's the first time I examined the object my mother put into my hand. It's a small decorative silver key tied with red ribbon. I look from the key to him, saying, I'm not giving you anything, not until you tell me what's going on. A large group of teenagers run up the street, stopping and turning towards something just out of my view. There's a large clamor, and the kids start chanting, Fight! 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 I jog up the sidewalk to get a better vantage point. I see an antagonizing crowd. Two boys face each other in the middle of the street. One of them is enormous. He looks like the kind of kid they breed to win Little League championships. The other is me. I was tall, even at that age, but next to this hulking brute, I look like a knobbly-kneed fawn. It's King Kong versus Bambi. The overgrown bully gloats, egging 11-year-old me on as best as he can. Fight me, he taunts. I don't want to, says younger me. Hit him, one of the girls on the sideline says. Don't be a pussy. A fat kid shouts,
If these two faggots don't fight, someone else better.
Santa, who has joined me in the front yard, asks,
Friends of yours?
I sigh. This was the second day they followed me off the bus. The first day I got inside without incident.
And today?
Well, he tore my backpack off. Those are my books in that pothole over there. Hit me! Come on! Free shot, the hulking bully says, offering his cheek. I have no reason to hit you. Suppose I said something about your mama. What if I told you I know for a fact her coochie tastes like rotten tuna? I still wouldn't fight you. You wouldn't hit me? Even to defend your mama? Wow, you really are chicken shit. Just hit me, Paulie Squally. He offers each side of his face, back and forth, leaning in, leaning out, and turning in circles. Hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me. He freezes in place, pointing at his nose. I won't even try to stop you. I'll let you do it. Come on, Squall, one of the older boys says. We want to see what you're made of. We don't want to disappoint everyone, the hulking bully says in a whisper to his intended opponent. They want to see a fight. 11-year-old me stands with his hands at his side. You want to see someone fight? I'm not going to hit you. You'll have to hit me. The hulking bully calls the bluff. Okay, he says, and then he punches Polly just below the eye. He drops his guard and waits for the inevitable backlash. The older kid, the one that said he wanted to see what the younger me was made of, covers his Cheshire grin with his hands. Peeking out through his fingers, he sees Polly standing there like nothing happened. The bully looks down at his fist, as if to see if it was the same one he had used on all the other kids he'd put on their backs over the years. He glares at Polly with confusion and indignity. He squares off again, making sure to really cock back this time, and swings as hard as he can. Polly doesn't try to get out of the way. He just takes the blow. He doesn't stagger or sprawl out on the floor as expected. He barely moves at all. And then, after he's absorbed both punches, he simply meets the bully's amazed stare and asks him one simple question. Are we done? The bully's face twitches. A coil in his head snaps loose. Yeah, I guess so, he says. Without another word, Polly bends down and picks up his muddy books and bag. He makes his way through the stunned crowd. He fumbles with his keys and pushes safely inside his trailer. I watch the younger me through the window as he lets his books drop to the floor and bursts into tears. I call him a coward, pronouncing the word like a profanity.
He's no coward, Santa says. That took a lot of courage.
I scoff. 1 year later, that mouth breather out there jumped my brother, pulled a knife on him. I could have put a stop to that by standing up to him. Santa becomes incredulous.
You did stand up to him.
Laughing bitterly, I point at the dispersing crowd of bloodthirsty teens. I should have shown all of them why you don't mess with me or my family. Pointing through the window at Polly, Santa says,
I just hope for your sake there's some of that kid's fight left in you.
Why are we digging up shit that happened over a quarter of a century ago? I'm not that kid anymore. The mobile homes around us begin to crack and contort, falling into disrepair right before our eyes. Clouds gather overhead, and a sheet of ice freezes a thick layer over everything. The sun hangs low in the sky, casting a strange haze over the empty street. A worn-out Ford pickup from 1955 putters up. The only thing holding it together at this state in its life is rust and prayer. In the bed of the truck is a pile of furniture under a tattered green tarp. The truck stops, and the driver's side door opens. A man, wearing a rented tuxedo, steps down from the truck. He pulls on a heavy coat, stomps his feet, and rubs his palms together. Here we go, I say. That's who you're dealing with. That's me, about 12 or so hours ago. As the man fishes out his phone, he slips on the ice. Shit, he says, grabbing the side of the truck to keep himself from falling. And then he says to the phone, call Mom. As the phone dials the number, he pulls up the tarp and digs through the furniture and boxes until he finds an old guitar. Holding the instrument up for inspection, he cautiously makes his way around the truck. Once on the other side, he opens the passenger door. It almost falls off its hinges, and he has trouble getting it closed again. Butting the door with his hip, he reaches through the window and takes a sip from an open beer bottle. Santa gives me a sad look.
You're wasted.
The man drains the bottle and tosses it into the frozen grass. He leans against the truck and looks at the dilapidated trailer. Hello? He says into the phone. The person on the other end of the line, my mother, answers. From where we're standing, we can't hear her, but while I don't recall the entire conversation, I do remember her worriedly asking me where I was. I'm at our old trailer, Mom. She says something so loud we can almost make it out. I don't intend on letting anyone down tonight, he says. Don't worry, I'll be there. I just want to play a song to our old trailer. Her words are ignored while he juggles the phone and the guitar, leveling it out. You want to hear something funny, Mom? One of my neighbors heard me on my guitar the other day, asked me when I learned to play. She tells him she remembers. I was 7, Mom. I've been playing since I was 7. He plays a few sour chords. Oh, it's out of tune. Hang on. The phone slips until it's tucked between his shoulder and chin as he tries to ripen the notes. Santa turns a serious gaze in my direction. He shakes his head gravely and turns back to the other me. There we are, the man says, happy with the quality of tone. He pushes the phone back to his ear with his good shoulder and holds the guitar up to get a good look at it. You know that was always the dream, right? We were going to make music. Pretty simple dream. Well, I guess it wasn't simple. I mean, we were dumb enough to think we could make a living at it. There were times when we'd fantasize about growing up to be rock gods, but it never really was all about fame and fortune. It was about spending the rest of our lives doing what we'd always dreamt of doing, playing music together. He strums calmly and listens to his mother's voice until one of the guitar strings snaps. Disappointed, he lets the guitar drop to his side and stares at the sky as if somebody up there broke the instrument. Do you want to know what I told him? He asks, interrupting the voice on the other side of the line. My neighbor that asked when I learned to play. Do you want to know what I said? I told him if he ever finds his 7-year-old with a guitar, dreaming of the endless possibilities of tomorrow, he should just slap the pick right out of his hand. Santa sighs.
That's dark.
The man's expression suddenly changes to one of outrage. You know what? He says. Fuck this guitar. He brings the instrument over his head and smashes it down against the side of the truck. He does this again and again until there are splinters at his feet. Once a broken neck is all that remains of the guitar. He remembers the phone in his other hand. It was nothing, Mom. He only half listens to her response before saying, I'm fine. Never been better. His mother expresses her concern. She tells him this is not the time for him to be behaving like this, asks him if everything's really all right. It's Christmas Eve. It's Jen's wedding. Now isn't the time for anyone to be worried about my problems. Pulling his phone away from his ear, he fights a sudden urge to throw the device. Even in his drunken haze, he recognizes the fact he'll need it for what he's got planned. I've got to go, Mom. She tries to get him to agree to call a taxi, to sleep it off. No, I need to hurry or I'll be late. His mother says she'll be praying for him. She'll be asking everyone there to say a prayer, too. A lot of good that'll do, he slurs. Let's see what your prayers are worth. He drops the phone back into his pocket, climbs into the truck, and drives away. When he's gone, Santa puts his hand on my shoulder and says,
I know you've been going through a lot, but I'm here to help.
I shrug his hand off. I don't want your help. I just need to know what's happening to me, and I'll figure out how to deal with it on my own.
You can't. And why would you want to? Look at how far you've gotten without accepting anyone else's help. Don't you remember what happened to you after you drove away in that truck?
The memory suddenly comes back to me, and I'm gripped by the realization I might know how I got here. Am I dead? I ask. Santa shakes his head gravely. But I'm dying, aren't I? And Santa Claus, the living and breathing embodiment of the Christmas spirit, lets out a small, strangled laugh and nods.
Yeah, pretty much.